People often ask how old trees are, and it's a very useful trick to be able to estimate the age of trees. It's fun to do, but also it gives ecological insights. You can say how old this group of trees are and link it to previous management activities. So how do you do that? Well, the easiest way to do that is to chop the tree down and count the number of growth rings, but that's almost never acceptable. You can bore through to the center and then count the number of rings in that core. But again, that's rarely acceptable and it's technically difficult. A very useful shortcut is to measure the girth, the circumference, and then divide by the growth rate. And for hardwoods in Britain, they grow at about 2 centimetres a year, 1.5 to 2.5, about 2 centimetres a year. So you can measure the girth and divide that by 2, and that gives you the approximate age. Now, that's great if you've got a tape measure, but most of us don't. So what do we then do? Well, Henry I defined a yard, 3 feet, as the distance from his fingertip to his nose, and I measured it on me. The distance from my fingertip to my sternum is a yard. So that's 90 centimetres, add a little bit on, and you have a metre. So from fingertip to fingertip, that's 2 yards, 180 centimetres, add a bit more on, and you have 2 metres. And if you're not a nerd and don't want to measure that, an easy shortcut is your distance from fingertip to fingertip is about the same as your height. And I'm 6 foot tall. That works for me. So we can then take some measurements. So that's 1 metre, that's 2 metres. If you go about halfway round, that's 4 metres. For me, that's 36 centimetres, so that's about 40 centimetres. That's about 20 centimetres. So you can then go into the field and estimate the circumference of trees and then try to estimate roughly how old they are. So how does this work in practice? Let's look at this smallish tree here. That's about 30 centimetres, so that's probably about 15 years old. Let's look at this larger tree over here. Slightly complicated with this branch going here, but that's under 2 metres. If it was 2 metres, it'd be 100 years, so it's probably perhaps 60 or 70 years old. Or let's have a look at this very large oak over here. That's 2 metres, so it's probably a bit over 4 metres, so it's a bit over 200 years old. Now, I've said that they grow at 2 centimetres a year. This is actually variable. If the conditions are good, it might grow at 2.5 centimetres a year. So if it's in the light, so this oak tree over here, it's a beautiful oak tree. You can see it's a big sprawling tree. I'm sure that this has grown in the light, so it'll probably grow at 2.5 centimetres a year. If it's a tree growing in the shade, it might only be growing at 1.5 centimetres a year. If you go further north, trees grow more slowly. If you go in the tropics, trees often grow faster, though it's variable. Some grow at 9 centimetres a year, some grow at 1 centimetre a year. And then for conifers, it's actually much easier. Conifers, I'm sure you remember from Christmas trees, at the top they've got this whorl of branches, and then underneath there's another whorl, and underneath another whorl, and they produce 1 whorl of branches every year. So you just need to count the number of whorls going down, and you know then the age of the tree. In practice, at the bottom, the branches are often broken off by the little stubs, and then right at the very base, you just have to sort of guess a bit. I've done a separate video on that, if you want to look for that. So what I'm saying is that it's very useful to be able to estimate roughly how old trees are. It's a great trick to be able to do, but it's very useful for interpreting the landscape, and I hope you give it a go, and I hope you find it useful.